Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today I'm bringing you guys my top 5 free premium ships list. So what I mean by a free premium ship? A free premium ship is different from any other premium ship by the way of it being, well, free. You don't have to hand over any cash, either in an outright purchase from the premium shop, or doubloons by, of course, trading your cash for doubloons and then buying a ship in the armory. All these ships can be acquired for free. And I've arranged them in a list based upon how well they are in the current meta, how fun they are, and how long of a grind it is to acquire them. Now, do keep in mind, I'm only including ships on this list that I have and I have played a decent amount in. I'm not going to recommend you guys get a ship that I don't have a pretty good feel for how it handles and how it performs in the modern game. So if you're wondering where a certain ship is, there's a pretty good chance that I just don't have it yet, although that's only about 4 or 5 ships that you can acquire via this method so far because of course, getting these ships to review and just outright how much I play this game. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into the list. And do keep in mind, too, this is 100% my opinion. I'm not trying to say if a ship's not on this list, it's not worth it. These are just the 5 best ones that I think right now would fit the game pretty well and that is definitely worth the grind. So let's go ahead and hop in with number 5, which is the Tier 10 American battleship. I'm not going to say premium ship before each of these ships because this is a premium ship list, so just bear with me. The Ohio. So the Ohio is actually one of the first ships you could get in the Research Bureau, and that's why it's down at number 5, because you have to go through the Research Bureau to get it. This ship has a lot of positives going for it, but the biggest downside is that it's in the Research Bureau, which you can still get the ship for free, but of course you have to first off get the Research Bureau unlocked, which means you have to have 5 tier 10 ships, and then you have to regrind a line at least 6 times in order to get this ship. So it's a lot to do, but this is a really strong battleship. It's seen everywhere from COTS to clan battles when it's at tier 10, tier 10 ranked, of course. This is all around just a real powerhouse of a ship, and it's in a really good spot right now because of the secondary skill changes. So we'll get to that in a second. Let's go ahead and give you guys a rundown on the Ohio. So the Ohio has 8 457mm 18-inch guns that hit like a freaking semi-truck. I have been blapped so many times by this ship in ranked, in clan battles, or hell, even in just good old random battles. These guns hit like, I mean, they really pack the might of America behind them. Now, they aren't all that accurate, as I'm sure you're seeing in this gameplay right now, but what this gameplay right now is really showing you is how much punishment this Ohio can get, which is pretty surprising because it is just a Montana hull that's slower at 28 knots and has a slightly different AA setup and a different main battery setup, and of course the secondaries are different as well. But a lot of that comes from the improved American battleship heal that it gets, on top of having the Massachusetts cooldown time for its damage con, and it has that nice American damage con that runs for 20 seconds, which you can't get to run for a little bit longer with flags and commander skills now. So moving on to the next aspect of the Ohio is its secondaries. So the secondaries for the Ohio before the commander rework were really accurate and really fast firing. But of course after the commander rework they lost a good bit of their accuracy, but they of course fired as fast as they always have. But now since they changed the way the secondary skills work, these secondaries are back in their almost their full power with the changes to the accuracy now. So after 45 seconds of firing, these secondaries will be absolutely drilling their target with no relent at all, and they are great for starting fires. Now they can't pin 32mm of armor without IFHE, but I don't think you really need to take IFHE, again, just because of the fire rate of these guns. These guns are really all about setting fires on larger ships or just absolutely eviscerating destroyers. Not to mention, as well with the Ohio, she has good AA as well. So if you're having a bad day with CVs, the Ohio is a pretty good AA boat all around. And again, just a really solid ship. It would be much higher on the list if you didn't have to regrind so many lines to get this ship. Now, if you are going to regrind lines via the Research Bureau, computer, I do recommend you go down the Japanese gunboat line. It has the least amount of XP to grind through. And of course, once you get to tier 8, the Japanese gunboat line is borderline OP. And then at tier 9, it is just outright OP as well. Alright, going on down now to number 4, we have the tier 7 British battleship, the Duke of York. This might surprise some of y'all. So the Duke of York is a ship that I've had a mixed relationship with. When I first got her, I didn't see the point of her over her tech line counterpart, which is of course the King George V, same class. But Duke of York has a couple of big changes to it that seem small but make a lot of difference in her playstyle. And it was really, in my mind, a nice side grade to the King George V. So what makes the Duke of York special? Well, first off, it's got a slower reload than the King George V, but it has improved AP pin angles, which is really nice with having 10 14-inch guns at tier 7. Now you might be thinking, 14-inch guns at tier 7, Sealord, that's on the smaller side, isn't it? It is, but guess what? It still has British BB AP, which means with 14-inch guns at tier 7, you can absolutely just slap the crap out of cruisers that show you broadside. They don't even have to show you flat broadside either with those improved AP pins. So she's got that going for her, but she still has the British BBHE. So that means you've come across something that you can't pin with your AP, or they just won't give you enough angle for you to pin, just switch on over to your HE, and you still got that British BBHE, albeit at a slower load time than the King George V, so you can't technically HE spam as well, but trust me, I've played this ship quite a lot because it's really caught my attention recently, and the HE is fine. Couple that with the improved AP, and you're doing fine in the Duke of York. Now, she does have hydroacoustic search too, which is a little strange to have on a tier 7 British battleship, but it comes in handy when you're having to push destroyers. And again, with that British BBHE, God help any destroyer that gets caught by you. Do keep in mind too, guys, this ship has 10 guns. 10 guns at tier 7. That's definitely on the higher side. Again, they may be a small in caliber, but they are mighty. And the Duke of York, I gave it the title the best war ship, because this ship gets labeled one of the worst ships in the game, one of the most pointless ships in the game, simply because the King George V is a better HE spammer. But the Duke of York isn't really about its HE, it's about that improved AP, and it's really, really, really good at that. Now, of course, it is at tier 7, which means it can get double up tiered, and yeah, having 14-inch guns at tier 9 does suck, but hey, you still have that HE you can fall back on, and if any tier 9 ship does show you enough of an angle to where you can pin, it's not like the AP is going to, just kiss them softly goodnight. No, it's going to hit, and it's going to hit hard. It's just that, again, at that tier, with the range, the armor layout of the ship, and the accuracy of the guns, it really starts to show at that tier. But I think the Duke of York is a solid ship all around, and is available for coal as a tier 7 ship for free. So pretty good pickup in my mind, especially if you like the King George V and maybe you want to play it maybe a little bit more aggressively and use your AP a bit more, get a little bit closer to the caps and such. She can definitely do that, especially when she's top tier. Alright, moving on down now to number 3, we have the tier 10 Italian cruiser, the Napoli, the newest. Yes, this is the newest coal ship on the block. I had to think there for a second, because man, Wargaming has really been pushing out the premiums recently. But yes, the Napoli, the tier 10 Italian, I guess, super cruiser. I know some people say it's technically not a super cruiser because she still has 10-inch guns, but this cruiser sure is super. So the main gimmick of the Napoli is her SAP secondaries. She has the same secondaries as, well, a lot of the Italian battleships do, except instead of firing HE, these secondaries fire SAP, which means their pins are way better. With the Italian BBs, a lot of the 90mm secondaries that you see that the Napoli has, I'm sure you're seeing go to work on screen right here, they can only pin 19mm of armor with HE. But with SAP, they can pin a lot more than that, especially the 155s. And she's got a lot of them, and boy do they fire fast, just like the battleship ones do as well. But again, this time they have SAP. So she's got those amazing SAP secondaries that can get out to 9 kilometers, which is freaking crazy. And keep in mind too, there's no cruiser secondary skills, so you're watching just the modules increase the accuracy and the reload right now. So that's pretty nutty. The SAP secondaries are great at just chewing through lightly armored cruisers and absolutely just dusting destroyers as well. And remember, since this is not a battleship, it doesn't have that 45-second spool up time. So these secondaries are just this accurate out the gate. So on top of the secondaries, you have the Italian Hypervelocity 10-inch AP that is quite painful if you've ever been shot by it, but she has lower accuracy by base stats alone, and of course if you build into the secondaries, you're not bumping up that accuracy at all anyways. But again, the whole point of the ship is a secondary, so I don't see why you really want to build into the main guns anyway. On top of that too, she has exhaust smoke, which makes her quite sneaky in the right situation, meaning you can really play the ship close to the cap. The ship is great for cap support. Well, one, because the guns are so inaccurate that if you're far out, you're not really going to be hitting anything. Two, the SAP secondaries will absolutely eviscerate any DD that gets spotted by your team. Three, when you're in the exhaust smoke, guess what? Your secondaries don't increase your bloom. So you can be in your exhaust smoke, someone can be spotting, then you can see a DD or whatever is in your secondary range. Your secondaries are going to go to work and chew right through them while you're still in your armor undetected. It's crazy too. While you're still in your smoke undetected. Jeez, I don't know English there. But speaking of armor, since my brain wants to talk about it before I wanted to talk about it, the ship does actually have pretty darn good armor. It's one of the few high-tier cruisers that actually is pretty well protected from 457mm guns. I was saying you can go broadside to get away with it. No, I'm saying that you can angle and it can bounce, and it will bounce a lot more than if you were in an older tier 10 cruiser. So the Napoli, exactly just what we dreamed it was going to be when we were seeing the early stats and release images of her. And I'm very glad that they didn't mess with her too much, and she's quite the strong cruiser too. And just again, an absolute basket of fun here. Oh, I almost forgot to mention she has torpedoes too. She's got those good old slow Italian torpedoes that take forever to get where they're going, but when they do get there, and if you're in their way, that they're gonna frickin' hurt. So she's got that as well too. Almost forgot about that. So again, all around a good ship, a lot of fun, and again, a free ship that's available for coal. Coming up with number 2, we have the tier 10 Japanese super cruiser, the Yoshino. So the easiest way to sum up the Yoshino is that it's a Zao, but it's actually viable in 2021. So the Yoshino and the Zao have a pretty similar playstyle, although not exactly the same due to some big changes between the Zao and the Yoshino. So the Yoshino is very accurate with its 310mm guns, with that good old Japanese HE alpha and fire chance. So these guns are very sweet and definitely the main focus of the ship. You can stay back early game with the Yoshino with these guns and just absolutely rain hell down upon whatever it is that you're firing at, be it cruisers, battleships, or destroyers especially. Now, am I saying you can hit a destroyer from 20 kilometers? No. But if you can get within like 15 or 14-ish kilometers, the velocity and the firing arcs of these guns makes it very easy to hit destroyers. And then couple that with the Japanese HE alpha and fire chance, and yeah, destroyers are not going to like being shot at with these Yoshi guns. So when you're playing the Yoshi, you tend to stay a bit farther back for the first half of the match, then you get to push in the latter half if it lasts that long. And by that time, if you're good at dodging, you should still have most of your health intact, which means now you have the Yoshi coming at you with its very accurate 310s late game, when ideally the rest of the enemy team should be around half-ish health unless they came to the back too. So you've got a big health advantage and definitely a huge advantage with your firepower as well. Now, the HE isn't the only good thing on the ship. The AP is actually not that bad, but the issue is the pin angles are. But if somebody shows you flat broadside and you got your broadside ready to go with AP loaded, they're going to fill it. They're going to fill it freaking rough. And she has 20-kilometer torpedoes too. Kind of the same situation as with the Napoli, where you kind of just throw them toward your target and they eventually get there. And normally it takes so long to get there, the enemy forgets that you were all the way out there when you fired them. And you'll be surprised how much these torps actually connect. They're a very good area denial tool, or just punishing someone who's just camping in a spot. Because like if you fire these things from 19 kilometers and they're still there when they get there, that's definitely on them. And what's really interesting too is that the Yoshi is one of the 3 Japanese ships that has actual AA. She has Harugumo turrets up and down her side. Funny enough, this is actually kind of supposed to be our first secondary supercruiser, but that didn't happen. But anyway, those Harugumo turrets double as AA, of course, on top of the other AA mounts she has on the ship. She's actually a pretty decent AA boat as well. And she's also a great farmer, of course, with that Japanese HE. So if you need a nice little farmer for you to grind some credits or some commander XP for your Japanese cruiser commanders, this is a pretty solid investment. And the skills you put on the Yoshino will be used on every single Japanese cruiser as well. So it's a very good commander trainer as well. And again, she's a free tier 10 ship available for coal right now. Alright, coming in at number 1, we have the Tier 10 American aircraft carrier, the Franklin Delano Roosevelt. I'm joking. Our actual number 1 is the Tier 9 German battleship Pommern. So the Pommern is just German battleships encapsulated in a ship. That is what the Pommern is. The Pommern is the ultimate brawler. It's the ultimate just troll German guns that aren't supposed to be accurate, but they wind up working a good bit of the time. I mean, you do have 12 15-inch guns, so that's a lot of firepower, but they are 15-inch guns at tier 9. But hey, when you got 12 of them and engaging people from the ranges that the Pommern should be engaging people from, you definitely have enough of a punch to make people, think about underestimating the Pommern the next time they come up against her. So just like I mentioned with the Ohio, the Pommern secondaries are in a really good place right now. They're really accurate, especially once you get them spooled up. And if you do happen to pick up Lucians, who's also a free unique commander available for coal as well, and have Lucians and the Pommern together, that is absolutely the dream team. Because once you get 100 secondary hits, Lucian just pops his secondary expert skill, and boom, now you got a 50% boost to your secondary load time. Couple that with a full secondary build and with Adrenaline Rush, and you got some crazy secondaries going on now. So besides that too, the Pommern has German armor, which is great from close range. But for the love of God, Pommern captains, stop selling broadside at long range. You're making the rest of us German BB lovers look bad. Because at long range, the German armor is nothing but a nice little punching bag for any ship with guns above a caliber of, well, anything really. So just make sure you're minding yourself at range. And of course, she does have torpedoes too, because why not? Exact same torpedoes that the turret pits had, so just the ultimate trap card in a brawl. Can definitely level the playing field very quickly if your health is low or whatever. Surprise, buddy, here's 4 torpedoes in your face. But they are German torpedoes, so they will inevitably be knocked out the second you need them, because that's how German torpedoes on anything works. On top of that too, she has hydroacoustic search, so when you're pushing, you can scare any DDs away, and hopefully dodge any torpedoes coming at you. Again, Pommern captains, use your hydro, stop making the rest of us look bad. When you're selling broadside and need torpedoes that have been on their way for the past minute and a half, use your hydro, that's why you got it. Just about the only thing that this ship doesn't have that's from the German gimmick kit is the catapult aircraft, which I'm surprised they didn't bolt that on there too, because then the ship would literally have everything. So I guess it would literally be another Odin situation, but this is a very fun ship. Not a super competitive ship by any stretch of the imagination. Probably won't be using it in ranked or CBs anytime soon. But if brawls come back around, yeah, this thing was the king of brawls last time we had tier 9 brawls. It was an absolute ton of fun. Now, something to mention about our secondaries is that a lot of them are the 105s, not the 128, so they can't pin 32 millimeters of armor. But again, it's kind of like the Ohio, where the fire rate with a full build on it, especially with Lucians, is definitely good enough to where you will be setting fires all the time. Plus, you have 12 15-inch guns with a pretty decent fire chance per shell. Load HE there, and get your secondaries going on a target. You'll be burning them down in no time. And in my personal opinion, I don't think IFHE is worth it, because now you're gimping that fire chance on your 15-inch guns down to 17% instead of 32% on 15-inch guns at tier 9, which, having such small guns at tier 9 means you probably will be having to use HE a pretty good amount of time, so you're just gimping yourself there, in my opinion at least. Again, that's my opinion. You play your boat how you play your boat. So guys, those are my top 5 free premium ships. All these ships are available for free, either via Cole or the Research Bureau. I do of course recommend that if you're going to go after these ships, make sure you have grinded up to that tech line in the first place. So let's say you want to go for the Palmer. Make sure you have a tech line tier 9 and you've played it for a fair bit so you know what's going on at tier 9 and you have experience there. It'll make the game a lot easier for you and for your teammates as well if you make sure of that in this situation. Anyway guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Let me know what your top 5 free premium ships are. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 30,000 subs. We just passed 28,300 a few days ago, and I cannot thank you guys enough for that. Hope you're all having a wonderful Monday. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.